Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, host of Mustang Prince Orro Reports. So, let's start today's episode by talking about the father of stop-motion animation, Ray Harryhausen. After seeing 1933's King Kong, Ray spent his early years experimenting in the production of animated shorts inspired by the burgeoning science fiction literary genre of that period. Eventually, later Ray got to work alongside Willis O'Brien as an assistant, and he later became a special effects artist who helped keep the art form alive for 3 decades. Now, I wasn't always into Ray Harryhausen's movies, but after watching Huey Toonmore and Apollo Z Hack's Top 12 Harryhausen creatures during the fall of 2013, several months after Ray's death, I started browsing through Netflix and rented several of the movies that Ray worked on, such as The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, the Sinbad trilogy, 20 Million Miles to Earth, The Valley of Gwangi, Jason and the Argonauts, and more. And to me, these films are not only classical and interesting, but I think all the stop-motion puppets that Ray Harryhausen used for them are really spectacular. And the movie that I'll be looking at tonight is not only the first Ray Harryhausen movie that I've ever seen, but it's also the last film that Ray Harryhausen worked on before retiring. So, released on June 12, 1981, the movie is Clash of the Titans. And now, on for the plot of the movie. Perseus, son of the Greek god Zeus, grows up on a deserted island. His destiny is to marry Princess Andromeda, who will someday rule the city of Joppa. But as long as the satyr Calibos, who uses a giant vulture to kidnap Andromeda's soul every night, is alive, no one can marry her. After Perseus cuts off Calibos' hand, the goddess Thetis demands that Andromeda be sacrificed to the Kraken, or Joppa will be destroyed. So, Perseus, along with a small group of soldiers, must go on a dangerous quest to search for Medusa, whose head is the only thing that can stop the Kraken. So, what are my thoughts on this movie? Well, after watching this movie on DVD with my dad, I thought this film was a really interesting and really thrilling movie. And for Ray Harryhausen's final movie, I really think it deserves a standing ovation. And to explain why I like this movie, let's head over to Mustang Notes. The film was the idea of Beverly Cross, who worked with producer Charles H. Schneer, writing the screenplay for Jason and the Argonauts. In 1978, Andor Films submitted a copy of the script to the British Board of Film Classification, seeking advice on how to secure either a U or an A certificate. The draft script included scenes which the BBFC considered would be unacceptable under those certificates, including the Kraken tearing Pegasus to pieces and Andromeda appearing naked during the final climax of the movie. Changes to the script and some cuts to Perseus' final battle with Calibos were made, and the film secured an A certificate. Those aged 5 and older admitted, but not recommended for children under 14 years of age. Not only did Ray Harryhausen use stop-motion animation to create the various creatures in the movie, but he was also a co-producer of the film, and he sadly retired from filmmaking shortly after it was released. Columbia Pictures were initially set to distribute the movie, having made most of Harryhausen and Schneer's movies, but after a change of guard at the studio, they dropped the project during pre-production, saying that it was too expensive. Schneer then tried at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, who thankfully agreed to finance it. Later, Schneer picked Desmond Davis to direct the movie because he had made several BBC Shakespeare films, and he wanted someone with experience dealing with Shakespearean actors. The movie was filmed at the Albert R. Broccoli 007 stage at Pinewood Studios in the United Kingdom, along with a few locations like Spain, Gozo, and Italy. Lastly to note, Clash of the Titans influenced a 2010 remake which was not only a bad film, but it also gained a sequel in 2012. Now, firstly, Clash of the Titans is one of several films based on Greek mythology that I've seen over the years. Like I said, I've rented Jason and the Argonauts a while ago, and I know that it's Tom Hanks' favorite movie, and I consider that film as one of Harryhausen's best works, despite the fact that it was a box office flop. And of course, I've seen the 2014 Hercules movie in theaters with my dad, which I kind of have mixed feelings for. Plus, there's Disney's 1997 Hercules film, which is a favorite of mine, along with the 2009 animated Wonder Woman and the 2017 Wonder Woman movie, and of course the interesting Winds of Change movie from 1979. Anyway, in my opinion, the cinematography for Clash of the Titans is pretty good for the time, and the effects are awesome as well, considering the fact that this film was made before computers were ever used in the film industry. Plus, I think the story is not only well-paced, but it's also epic, mature, thought-provoking, and thrilling. Also, I think the stop-motion creatures that Ray Harryhausen brought to life for the film are really cool and interesting to look at. Some of the most memorable ones being Pegasus the winged horse, which looks really beautiful, Bubo the mechanical owl, who seems like a cute and memorable supporting character, the scorpions, which look really cool, but I wouldn't want to be stung or pinched by them. As for the other creatures, well, in my opinion, this movie's version of Medusa is a real monster with a snake-like body, an unsettling face, and really good aim with a bow and arrow. In fact, back in 2016, Medusa received a spot on my top 13 scariest monsters in a live-action film list. Also, Medusa's ability to petrify anyone who makes eye contact with her makes her really terrifying, especially with her slow slithering and her rattling tail. And I think her temple lair looks very fitting to the Tartarus theme due to the red lighting and the scattered statues of real men. Also, I think this version of Medusa is a lot better than Natalia Vodianova's CGI portrayal or that disgusting, raunchy version from Winds of Change. Lastly, we come to the final boss of the movie, the Kraken. Unlike the squid-like monster or the beast from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, I think the way the Kraken is depicted in this movie is very unique and iconic, with 4 strong, powerful arms and a very grim face. Plus, I think it's a lot better than that cheap CGI version from 2010. Also to note, the Kraken seems like the kind of monster who would kill victims for its pleasure, rather than through the demands of the gods. Plus, I think the way Perseus defeats the Kraken using Medusa's head was really epic. And now let's move on to the cast. The main hero, Perseus, is played by Harry Hamlin, best known from the LA Law and Mad Men series. In the film, Perseus is the son of Zeus and Danae, who grew up on the island of Seriphos until he was transported to Joppa. To me, Perseus is a brave, clever, and a noble demigod prince who's determined to go through great lengths to save his future fiancée from being killed by the Kraken. Next is his love interest, the beautiful Princess Andromeda, daughter of Queen Cassiopeia, played by Judy Boker, whom I remember from the Adventures of Black Beauty series. When Perseus first sees her, he learns that Andromeda is under a curse and she cannot marry unless her suitor successfully answers a riddle concocted by Calibos. After Perseus answers the riddle and presents Calibos' severed hand, he wins Andromeda's hand in marriage. To me, despite that she's to be sacrificed to the Kraken, I think Andromeda is a beautiful maiden who cares for the safety of her people. And I like that she temporarily joins Perseus on his journey. Next we have Amon, played by Burgess Meredith, whom has been in 1939's Of Mice and Men, the Rocky movies, G.I. Joe the movie, and Santa Claus the movie. This character is an elderly poet who becomes a friend and ally to Perseus after meeting him at an abandoned amphitheater. To me, Ammon is a very wise, helpful, and a pretty memorable supporting character. And I like that Ammon joins Perseus on his quest, but after meeting with the Stygian witches, he and Andromeda return to Joppa. Next we come to Thetis, goddess of the seas, played by Maggie Smith. Best known for playing Professor McGonagall in the Harry Potter film series, Lady Blueberry from the Romeo and Juliet movies, Aunt Ruth from A Boy Called Christmas, and Violet Crawley from Downton Abbey, which will be getting a sequel later this year. Thetis in this movie is the mother of Calibos, and in my opinion, she pretty much sticks out the most compared to most of the Greek gods. Also, she can be pretty spiteful, vengeful, and overprotective of her children. After Perseus cuts off Calibos' hand and Queen Cassiopeia declares that her daughter, Andromeda, is more beautiful than Thetis, she becomes so outraged that she demands that Andromeda be sacrificed to the Kraken for the insult. Next we have the Stygian sisters, played by Flora Robson, Anna Manahan, and Frida Jackson. According to Greek mythology, these three witches are three old women who know almost everything about the future. They are blind, but they see through a shared mystical eye, which they put near their ocular holes. In the movie, they tell Perseus that the only way to defeat the Kraken is to actually kill the Gorgon Medusa. Next we come to the major antagonist for the film, Calibos, played by the late Neil McCarthy. Calibos is the spoiled and rebellious son of Thetis. He was betrothed to Princess Andromeda, but unfortunately, Calibos committed several atrocity crimes against Zeus, including destroying Zeus's sacred flying horses. So as punishment, Zeus transforms Calibos into a deformed, monstrous satyr-like creature, and he's forced to live as an outcast in the swamps and marshes. Every night, Calibos summons Andromeda and arranges for her to give a riddle to anyone who wishes to wed her. After Perseus cuts off his hand, Calibos prays to his mother to punish Joppa as revenge. In my eyes, while he is a pretty manipulative and a threatening character, he doesn't seem to do too much to conflict with Perseus' quest, other than capturing Pegasus and producing 3 giant scorpions using Medusa's blood. Finally, we come to the ruler of the Greek gods, Zeus, played by the late Laurence Olivier. In my eyes, Zeus is a mighty, strict, but merciful god of the heavens. Also, he's very protective of his mortal wife Danae and his son Perseus. After they're locked in a sarcophagus and thrown off a cliff into the seas, Zeus retaliates against this by having Poseidon unleash the Kraken and destroy Argos. Zeus is also responsible for deforming Calibos after he killed diverse animals, including a herd of winged horses. What I like about Zeus is the parts where he assists Perseus by giving him a special helmet, sword, and shield for him to use on his quest, and the part where he commands Athena to send a golden replica of Bubo. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, Clash of the Titans is a really epic and thrilling movie. The cinematography is amazing for the time, the story is well written, executed, and paced, the effects are pretty good, the action is excellently choreographed, and the stop motion by Ray Harryhausen is some of his finest work ever. Even though Ray is no longer with us anymore, I like that he's been a huge inspiration for some of my favorite filmmakers. Also, I hope to someday visit the National Media Museum in the United Kingdom, which is where all of Ray's stop-motion puppets are held on display. Anyway, I highly recommend you guys to watch this version of Clash of the Titans if you want to see a good adaptation of Greek mythology, but I wouldn't really recommend it for younger audiences, despite it being PG. As for my rating, well, I'll give it a full 100%. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for my next blog, Mustang Power.